Let's go.
And we are live here on Quarantine Chats Fan Response, episode 32. I'm with my co-host Ryan Schreiner, Isaiah Leong, but most importantly, we got our special guest here today, Samson Anguay. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing, man?
Is good. I saw during the quarantine you've been doing a lot of coaching and drills. How's that been going?
It's been going good, man. Just trying to keep the kids active, trying to stay close to the game as possible. Just trying to wait for this whole quarantine and hope everybody's safe so we can get back to football, man. Because life's football.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just what it is.
For sure, life is definitely brighter with a lot of football. With the training regimens you've been putting through, it looks like you really know what you're doing, man. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate it, man. I've learned from a lot of people, man, over my years. I'm just trying to do good and give back to my community, man. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna go to Isaiah to ask his first question. He had a question about the Hawaii coaching while you're playing over there at the University of Hawaii.
All right, man. First of all, before I get to my question, I gotta say, Samson, kudos to you and the Hawaii State for keeping your COVID-19 cases down, man. I heard you guys only have like 613 or something.
Yeah,
like
man.
That.
Yeah, it's something like that. And man, I mean, everybody's do stay home, sanitizing. I mean, we're doing pretty good. So I hope that we can kind of get back to normal soon, but not too soon where it's going to peak again. But, we're doing what we can. It's just, just how we are. Everybody just listens to do what they have to do because pretty much, I mean, just wash your hands and wash your face and just keep your distance.
Yeah, man, you guys are doing a fabulous job on keeping the COVID-19 cases down. Kudos to y'all. My question for you is, I want to start with your career in Hawaii. So back in 2015, you guys had a miserable season. You guys went 3-10, and your head coach, Norm Chow, was fired. And then in comes Nick Rolovich. He comes in, and y'all experience a major turnaround, going 7-7 and winning a bowl game. What was the key in that turnaround?
I think the key for the turnaround at that point was, Norm Chow is a great coach. But I still keep in touch with him here from time to time. He's doing good things with the XFL. I just think, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Head coaching at Hawaii is a tough job.
Definitely.
We're the only team in the state. Yeah, we're the only team in the state that has football. We don't have a pro team. No other Division I teams. It's just us. So I think the biggest turnaround was, so in 15, I actually did, I took that year off to let my knee heal up again because I got a medical hardship. But when I came back with Rolo, I think the difference was the dynamic. I think it was the same senior class, so some of the guys that I was playing with, and, we all had a meeting together, and we were just sick of losing. We're tired of it already. It was like, man, we got to get this change.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And I think the biggest thing that helped us change was we just brought everybody together, man. I mean, McConaughey, our defensive lineman, number 5, he said it best. He was like, man, instead of us missing goal, let's make a goal for every week. Win this week. So that, that year we started off playing Cal in Australia. We lost, but we kept up. And everybody was like, man, we have a good team. If we just buy in, we got something going. And then from there, it just took off, We lost a couple close ones. Also won a couple close ones too. I think what set us to the bowl game was we played Fresno. Fresno was the hugest one, I believe. And the biggest thing was, just the team morale of not having the guys feel left out and, having everybody know their role. My role when I came back, I talked to Rolo. I said, look, I know you got the skills. Wherever you need me, man. If it's scout team, if it's, kick return, kickoff, whatever you need me to play to help this team win, I'm in. And a lot of guys bought into that because, everybody wants to be the superstar, man, and everybody wants to get the ball and everything. But I think that's where, for me personally, and for a lot of guys personally, we kind of peaked in like our maturity of the game of football. We did what we had to do. We did the extra weights, we did the extra sprints, we made it count. Don't have a long lasting football, but the coaching side, and you kind of realize of like, all right, yeah, now this is how football comes full circle, like how it did for me with coaching and everything and all that whole shebang. So I think that's pretty much of what went down and everything. And I think my Zoom camera just went out, but I'm still talking, so don't worry about it. We're all Jeezy. But yeah, man, I think that was a huge turnaround. And Coach Rolovich, man, I'm still close with him. I love that guy to death. He gave me another opportunity to finish what I started, and the whole staff there at the same time. So I mean, it was all go from there.
Awesome,
yeah, man.
awesome.
Hey, I compare you guys, what you guys did in 2016, like to what happened with my 49ers this past season. For my 49ers, we were losing the last 2, 3, 4 seasons. And then we come, like, this season starts and we have a team meeting and guys put their egos aside and say, you know what? I don't care who has the most stats, who has the most touchdown catches, or who has the most yards and stuff. All I care about winning, and that's the ultimate goal, and that's what I compare you guys to, that team.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know. I think the biggest thing for us was it was a dynamic change. When Norm came in, he had a lot of run and shoot guys trying to learn a West Coast offense, a pro style. And, they were trying to give him time to recruit and build around that. And then when Rolo came in, at first it was like, I was recruited by Rolo at first with Coach Greg McMacken, and he's a run and shoot guy from top to bottom. And then from there, it was all right, let's just work with what we got and let's move. So now you kind of see the dynamic of in 2016, we had a tight end. Then 2017, they kind of got rid of the tight end and made him like a fullback hybrid running back. And then after that, now he's just running a whole strictly run and shoot. So, the football program in Hawaii, man, it's all based off pride. And, I think the years that Chow was there, it wasn't that we lost pride, but we kind of lost our identity because it was something new, because Hawaii hasn't seen so much of a heavy run offense. Everything was Cole Brennan passing, on best. When like Kaika Uzi got recruited, he was recruiting to run and shoot, man. Kaika's my guy, and like Kaika, I love that guy to death, man. He's been through the trials and tribulations, man. Now he's playing in Japan. Marcus Kemp still with KC, Trayvon Henderson still with the Bengals. John Ursula with the Seahawks. Because it's just a system, and I truly believe as a coach myself, you have to find the right system that fits the players. You have to like adapt to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go back to your playing days. Beginning in Hawaii, you get the offer to go to Hawaii and everything. Campus is just beautiful. Football field is beautiful. How did the expectations kind of going into the Hawaii football program compare to the reality of being a wide receiver there?
Expectations are high. It's more of a football IQ kind of deal. You got to know where it's more space. You run the run and shoot. It's more about reading coverage. You have to be a really book smart athlete when you play in that offense in Hawaii. My career started off kind of rocky. Tore my ACL the first year, and they let go Greg McMacken. I came back with Norm Chow. He moved me to running back, and then right before we go to play the first game, boom, I tore my other ACL. It was just a rocky start, man. It was crazy. But, I'm a big man of faith, and I just trust in God in the process. And then after the rotation with receivers and running back and forth, special teams, brought in a new OC. At the time, I didn't blow out my knee, some things I had to fix with it, and I took a year off and medically, man. I didn't medically retire, but I took a medical. And then when I came back into the run and shoot system, man, I felt comfortable. I raised out here, in Ever Beach, and you got to be really, really strong, really big, really fast. But the older you get, It's more about your football IQ, like I said. It's about knowing how to get open before the play starts. You know, just like a lot of NFL guys when they go out, man, when they train, they do the same thing. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man. It's nice when we come out here. It's beautiful. It rains and all, but it's just sprinkles. But man, it's the best feeling in the world, man. I wouldn't change my career for nothing, for anything. You know, made me who I am today. You know, it's building me up to be the father I'm about to become. Hopefully, I can teach my son, you know, the same way that I was taught. You know, have a lot of support out here. But you know, the expectations, you know, for people listening, man, for people around the world who want to play at Hawaii, the expectations are high. You're expected to win. You're really expected to win, man. Hawaii just got nominated for like the top 5 states to have NFL players drafted.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible for
Yeah.
real.
So
You
I
got
mean,
that guy Tua
not even.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa's dad was my coach, Coach Nalu. Yeah, his dad was my coach in high school, and man, that guy taught me a lot of life lessons. And man, I knew Tua since he was little. Tua used to throw passes to me when I was in high school, and he was like 5th grade. I
Did
got
you
to
know
coach.
he would be such a star?
I knew it not just because of him being a quarterback, but just because, you know, just the dynamics of how he's raised. He's a real humble kid. You know, his dad, his mom, his whole family, they literally live like 4 houses down from me.
That's
Like
awesome.
down the road. Yeah, man. I seen that kid throw a football and hit one of my cars, and we're looking around like, who threw that? And the kid's like 4 houses down. He's like, sorry. I'm like, did you throw that? That was a dime. I mean, but just the way that he works, you know, and he keeps his faith, you know, he's you know, he's inspiring ever since he was little. But his younger brother's on the come up, so don't sleep on his younger brother. His younger brother is really, really
Oh, for
good.
sure, man.
Trust me, I'm telling you, his younger brother is gonna be the truth.
All right, great. So yeah, obviously dealing with those injuries must have been tough and everything. And you know, for me, I've actually been to about 40 states, but I never been to Hawaii or Alaska. So the best I know right now is California. But you know, knowing
Yeah.
what you described, Hawaii probably gonna blow that out of the water.
It's similar, but you know, our beaches are. I say our beaches hand down are better. The water's better.
Yeah.
It's not cold.
Hey, Steven, Samson's exactly right, man. Hawaii's beaches, man, they can't compare to California. I lived here and I still regret moving here, man. I want to go back home to Hawaii, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, home is home. I moved away to Georgia, man. I was in Georgia for 3 years. I was playing arena ball for about 2.5 and coaching for about 2.5. And I'm like, I got to get back to the beach. And they're like, oh, I'll take you somewhere. And they take me to a lake. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Like,
Not the same at all. Not the same at all.
yeah, it's like we just go in the middle of a boat in the middle of a lake. I'm like, okay. I've seen enough movies where you take me in the middle of a boat into a lake and something goes bad and I can't get back to shore. No, I'm A-okay. I will stand right here while you guys do what you do.
Yeah. Hopefully that wasn't Crystal Lake.
Oh, yeah, man. No, don't even get me started, dude.
All right. Well, let's move on to Ryan. Ryan's got a question for you as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned how you had a couple serious knee injuries during your playing time. And I get the feeling among like the general fan base that when an athlete suffers an injury like that, their thought process is, oh, we just have to wait 6 to 9 months and then they come back perfectly fine, exactly the way they were before. So I
Yeah.
just want to get your insight into everything that goes into recovering from an injury like that. And if there's this sort of mental hurdle that you need to clear in addition to the obviously physical one that you need to recover from.
Man, you hit it right on the button right there, dude. When I first hurt my knee, I mean, I got dinged up and banged up in high school, but it was nothing like this. I didn't know how to react, man. And I'm a guy that's always gonna go, like tape me up and put me back in, like kind of deal. I think the biggest hurdle my first ACL injury was I suffered from it's an actual thing and people don't really talk about it. It was like athletic depression. It was like, man, like I sat in my house on a little rocking chair and I just watched football and I'm like, damn, that should be me right now. What am I? Why would this happen to me? Why does this happen? But you know, you kind of have to dig deep. Like, you know how they say when you grind, you have to, you know, dig deep. And figure out who you are. And that's when I started to figure out, like, okay, if I get through this, I can get through anything. So I rehabbed more than twice a day. I was doing the extra. Well, in about 4.5 months, they said my knee was like to that point where, like, man, like, you might get cleared early to play. So I was hoping for that my first year and to come back the last game and play, but Coach Mack didn't let it go. He wanted me to have a good career. And then when I tore it the second time, man, I was strong mentally. I was like, I'm going to get through this no matter what. It's easy. I've been through it. I know what I got to do. And after that, man, I had no knee problems after that. That was fine. So a lot of people, man, I'm going to tell you, when you get injured in college football, it's going to be on you to get past all of this, to get past that hurdle. It's a real big hurdle. It's not no little hurdle. And you just got to keep believing in your faith and just follow the process. You got to take it one day at a time. You can't rush it. Because once you rush it, man, it's going to happen again and again because it's just not your time yet. So, yeah, man, you hit that on the button. And not too many people know about that I actually suffered from that because I would just be in a dark hole. I wouldn't watch football for about a week. I didn't go to practice for about 3 weeks because I was just sick to my stomach watching everybody run routes. You know, seeing people jog on the street when I'm driving, you know, my parents are driving back from rehab and they're jogging and running and exercising and I'm in a freaking knee brace with crutches, like, man, that should be me. But after a while, you're like, yeah, it's not my time yet. So, you know, this is one of those things you got to get over, man. But it was a huge hurdle, but I'm happy I got through it because, you know, a lot of hard times came through after that, you know, in my life that I got through. And I just was like, man, if it wasn't for that, you know, those moments, I don't know where I would be right now. So, you know, it might be different. If I never got hurt, maybe I would have had a chance to go to the next level. But, you know, maybe it just wasn't in my cards to play at the next level. Who knows? But we'll see. I'm kind of cooking up. I might come out of retirement. Who knows yet? I might give it one more whirl. We'll see how it goes. Because my kids I train keep me young. So I've been doing some drills lately. I'll keep on the down low about that, though.
For sure, for sure. Ryan, you had a question about the slot receiver position?
Yes. So during your playing days, you played sort of a slot wide receiver / running back hybrid type position. And I just wanted to ask, do you feel that among like the general fan base, the slot wide receiver has kind of been undervalued in college and even to a certain extent in the NFL or any other professional football league?
Maybe I would say my honest opinion, maybe about maybe 12 years ago when Chad Owens was there, it was very underappreciated. Very under, you know, and then when Devon Beston came up, you know, because I use them as references because I've seen them play in person. And it's like, man, then he went to the NFL. I was like, okay, there's a chance. But lately, I think, to be honest with you, this is my personal opinion, the NFL is using that more. Excuse me. The NFL is actually looking for guys like that now. They want the short, speedy receiver that can run the jet, that can go in the backfield, take a handoff, you know? And it's not shown too much now in the NFL, but in my opinion, I think they're going to blow up even more up in this upcoming year because we look at the statistics of everything in the NFL, they're more pass heavy and more slot backs are getting their opportunity now, their chance. And a lot of guys that fit that stature of, you know, that 5'9", 6-foot receiver that plays outside, that has speed, they're starting to move inside. I mean, like, for example, look at Larry Fitzgerald. He's a bigger receiver, but he knows the slot. Now you just gave him more space. So with them adding DeAndre Hopkins too, I think you're going to see more of Larry in the slot playing more and more every time. So my honest opinion, you know, I think the slot back position and the hybrids on the come up, and it should blow up in the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping so because I feel that it's been an undervalued position, and I hope you're correct in that it will become more appreciated as time goes on.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, before you continue, going back to your point about that slot receiver, the hybrid running back, look at Deebo Samuel, you know, with the 49ers. I think
Deebo's man.
He would line up in the slot, and then sometimes Kyle Shanahan would have him take handoffs on the jet sweep. And I think a lot of teams are looking what the 49ers did with Deebo Samuel, and they want to emulate that type of thing.
I mean, yes, that is a good point. You see these really good offenses like New England past few years, 49ers this year. They really take advantage of that, like slot hybrids, wide receiver position. So very good points.
For sure, for sure. Um, what would you say is your general advice for anyone who's like an aspiring college athlete? They want to get into college football. What's your biggest advice for any aspiring college athletes or maybe parents of those athletes?
Do your homework on recruiting and do your homework on eligibility and what it takes to get into the university you want to go to. I was very blessed and fortunate to work for what they call in the mainland. It's called a prep school. And what a prep school is, kind of like an extra year of high school for guys that don't qualify. And we played a college schedule. We played, NEIAs. We played D3s. We played other prep schools. But my biggest thing is that your academics is the only way you're going to get in. I mean, you can be the most talented athlete in the world. You can have the God-given gifts. You can be a creative player on Madden with all them stats. But if you don't qualify, you're not going to go nowhere. And I think the biggest thing that, a lot of athletes nowadays, it's just different. I'm not that old. I'm 28. But just to see the dynamic change so much is that's how social media takes over.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like one kid can have a breakout game and then, be a nobody. And he'll post it on Twitter or he'll post it on Facebook or he'll post it on Instagram. And that kid blows up overnight and everybody wants to know who this kid is. But then the college coach is not going to just ask, hey, what's your 40 time? He's going to be like, hey, man, what's your GPA? What's your test score? And you're going to, if you give him the, I don't know, coach, he's going to be like, well, I don't got an offer for you. So,
wow.
I mean, yeah, for parents who's listening, for athletes, man, make sure you do your homework on NCAA eligibility. Make sure you do your homework on the, the university you want to attend to. And make sure it's a good fit for you. Don't go there because they have the nicest uniform. I mean, prime example, I know we're going to get into the NFL later on in the segment, but there was a Division III athlete drafted second round. So it doesn't matter what division you play for. If you can ball, you can ball. So if whatever you qualify for, D2, D3, D1, go play, but make sure you get your academics first because, my opinion, NFL stands not for long.
Yeah.
You know how long you're going to last in there. You can be one injury away or you can be, just a couple seasons in and be like, hey, man, it's not for me anymore. I'm too beat up or I want to go back to school. A lot of people do it. So that's just my honest opinion about the whole thing.
For sure, guys. You heard it here first from Samson. Get your academics straight. Get those grades and those SATs right so that you can go to the college of your dreams. For sure, maintain that top level of play, but you got to get those grades right as well. Isaiah, I want to jump to you for your question about Rolovich going to Washington State.
Yeah, so first of all, great advice, man. Secondly, you mentioned earlier how you love Rolo to death. So I don't know if you guys knew, but Nick Rolovich, he became the new head coach at Washington State. I just want to know your reaction to Rolo leaving for Wazoo, and do you believe that he will have success there?
Oh, 100% behind him. I'm 99% University of Hawaii. Now I'm a fan. One head coach, and just now being a coach myself, I think the move was one beneficial for him and his family. He does this for a living, and it's not about it's not about disrespecting the state or anything. It's just, on my personal opinion, he's done a lot in the years that he's been in Hawaii. He's turned this program around from where we were, like you said. We were 3-10, 7-7. Then they went back to a bowl game again, had a rocky sophomore year for himself. And then his last year beats BYU. That's the biggest win against BYU in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, his success there is going to be through the roof. I mean, like any coach coming into a new program, you still got to get to know the guys. You got to get to know the morale of the team. You still got to build that family-oriented, atmosphere. And he's walking into a room, like you said before, with a bunch of talent, And, I mean, obviously he got paid a lot, and that's good for him and his family, man, because that's how he feeds his kids and keeps them going. But in my honest opinion, I say give him about a year and a half, and you're gonna see a whole team. He's gonna team change, and I think it's gonna be real beneficial for the Pac-12 because you're getting a coach that's just not a coach, but like a father figure to a lot of people. Man, last time I talked to that guy on the phone, I was watching the press conference, gave him a call. Answer, obviously, he called me right back and was like, "Hey, man, sorry I missed your call. They're not coach. You're good." Like, he's that type of coach, man. You can give him a call. And, some coaches you call nowadays and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll get back to you," and never call you back. No, he makes sure he gets back to his guys. And, I'm very happy for him and his family and the other coaches that went up, like Stutzman and Smitty and, all the other coaches that followed. But, the Pac-12 is a tough conference, man. You're playing the SCs, you're playing a tough conference. But I think with his mentality, he's a really gutsy play caller. I know firsthand. Trust me. You'll be 4th and 15. You're gonna see the ball in the air once in a great while. It's gonna be 4th and 2. You're still gonna see the ball in the air. He doesn't hold anything back, and I think that's kind of something that when he brings to the table that a lot of players appreciate because that builds the trust in them. Like I remember him in the huddle one time, and he just said, "All right, man, we're going for it," and everybody looked around like. At first, it was like, "You sure?" Because we're not used to this. He was like, "We got this. If you don't like it, call timeout. We'll go for it again." I was like, and everybody ran out there, and I'm looking up at the sideline at him like, "You sure?" He was like, "We got this." Like, all right, and it worked. And I was like, "Oh, from there on, man." I mean, punters, I feel kind of sorry for y'all because he's gonna go for it on 4th down. He's about, he's like a really good chess player. Wants to play you into his game, and he's gonna hit you when he hits you. So I think it was a good move. I know a lot of people in Hawaii were very upset about it, but if you want to keep a coach like that, you gotta pay him. You gotta give him the money, man.
Exactly. You have to pay him.
Yeah, I mean that dude did it with whatever he was getting paid, and I remember, man, he would help. He would do anything for you. He'd give a shirt off of his back. If you needed some to talk to, his door was always open to us. I mean, I take it more personal because he was actually the one that recruited me out of high school before he went to Nevada. And when the whole thing down, when I was thinking about transferring, I called him up. He was like, "Man, when you ready, let's go." And when he came back to head coach, I went right after work, man. I came there and I'm like, "Man, I'm ready to come back." He was like, "All right, let's go." Took me right downstairs, got all my stuff done, paperwork, got me right, rolling back in school. He said, "All right, get in shape." Like, cool. No hesitation, man. That guy doesn't hesitate about nothing. I appreciate him. And if he ever sees and watches, man, Rolo, what's up, dude? Like, I need a job. I'm trying to get in college coaching. Hook a brother up. So, but yeah, man. I mean, personally, I think it was the right move. I think it was, every college coach's dream is to go up. And to be honest with you, a lot of people might think I'm speaking kind of too freely, but don't be surprised in the next 3 or 4 years that man gets an NFL job.
Hey, yeah, I mean, the thing about Rolo that I like was that he was, as you said it, he was more than just a coach. He was a great person. He was very unique. He would bring I believe it was Justin Timberlake, take Justin Timberlake to media day or whatever it was, something like that.
Yeah, he did that in Vegas, dude. That was classic. I was crying laughing, man.
Yeah.
Dead, dude.
He brought fake Justin Timberlake to media day, and also he just likes to have fun, man. Like I remember one of the videos that
he bought Elvis.
Elvis, yeah, exactly, Elvis. But yeah, man, he just likes to have fun. I remember watching this video of you guys. I think it was April Fool's Day. He had instead of practicing, you guys did a whole water gun fight, something like that. That one was legendary.
Dude, it was dope. It was like a he called us all in, and no coaches was in there, and all of a sudden, there was a brown envelope. We opened it and we read it. It was like, "This is such and so, like a new traditional thing that we're doing, blah, blah, blah. Meet us on the grass field." And we got to the grass field. There was trash cans full of water balloons. He had water guns. The coaches with golf carts. And it was fun, man. We were just going off on that thing. It was so fun, man.
Hey, man, that's awesome. And also, dude, another thing I like about the guy is that you know, he cares about the community. Like in Hawaii, like as you said earlier, Hawaii football team, it's not just the football team, it's about the whole state. And when he went up to Washington State earlier, when this coronavirus hit, he would go and buy food from local restaurants and just give free food to people, which I thought was tremendously great for him.
Oh yeah, man. That's the type of guy he is, man. Like I said, he'll give you a shirt off his back if he could.
Yeah, congratulations to Rolovich and his family. Good luck at Washington State. I'm sure he's going to do amazing there in the Pac-12. Like you said, Samson, it is a competitive conference for sure. But I think I have faith in him as well. I think he can bring that winning culture to that program and take off where Mike Leach left off. But let's jump into the state of Hawaii football. Isaiah, you got a couple of topics.
Yeah, so Nick Rolovich, he leaves and Todd Graham replaces him. I just want to know, what was your reaction to the Todd Graham hire, and where do you see him taking Hawaii?
Oh man, I loved it. It was one of those things where, you know, it was something where, you know, a lot of people were kind of skeptical about it because, you know, they were trying to hire somebody in the midst of all of this. And I actually got to meet Coach Graham. You know, I set up a meeting with him and just wanted to sit down and as I plug often don't die. It was something with those, you know, you're going into an atmosphere where you really don't know the coach like that. You don't know what's really going to go down and go on. But the good thing I can tell you about him is that when I met him, it was like an open book, man. It was one of those things where he actually blocked out about an hour of his schedule, man. He man, tell me what to do. I just let it rip, man. I said, you know, you got to try to recruit these Hawaii athletes. And he would say, how do I do that? So, you know, he said, you're from here, you're born and raised, you played here. I'm trying to get the alumni involved. I want this to feel like it's home for a lot of these guys. And, you know, I really appreciated that of him. His defense is unreal, man. I mean, the dude knows his stuff. He's been coaching for years. His recruiting, you know, I mean, I know he'll bring the top talent. And, you know, I'll give him this, though. I think this year with, you know, having some of the younger guys that was with us and some of the younger guys that came in before, after me, like Chevin Cordero and all those guys coming in, like Mokunoa, you know, they're going to be a hell of a team this year. And I think, you know, unfortunately, the COVID happened. They couldn't have a spring ball. But I think they're going to turn some heads this year, and they're going to be very, very competitive. And, you know, he brings you that mentality of, you know, that championship mentality. So I think it was a great hire. You know, a lot of people were, you know, trying to hire in-house, which is fine. I get it. You know, you want to keep the morale going of the team, you know, live a loyal, play warrior. But it was just something that, you know, that was a big move. And, you know, I like I said, I think it was great.
Yeah, man, for me, to be honest, I was actually stunned when the news came down that Todd Graham was going to be the head coach, because Hawaii traditionally, they don't really pay their head coaches that much money. And I thought, you know, we would get like maybe Stutz would maybe become our head coach, or they were tossing out Brennan Carroll from the Seahawks assistant offensive line coach. I didn't think that we would be able to get a coach that is a caliber of Todd Graham, you know, with all the success that he has had in his career.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, kudos to David Matlin for landing that man.
Oh, yeah, kudos to him, and kudos to him for pulling the trigger on that. And, you know, it's Hawaii football, man. You never know what's going to happen. You never know whatever you're going to get. But, you know, as a state, man, we just got to support it. You know, I think the biggest thing, man, is, you know, you look back in the day, the stadiums were packed. You know, even when we were losing, we were packed. But we can't have that mentality as a state that you only go when they win. Like, you know, you're like true. Yeah, you're like a weather fan. You know, when it's sunny, you want to go. When it's raining, you're like, yeah. You know, when I was a little kid, you know, when I watched games, even if they lost, we'd still be in the parking lot, you know, finishing tailgating, throwing the football, being with our families, win or lose, man. We still, you know, we're Hawaii, man. Hawaii football is like the only thing. So, you know, we got to have all the support. And I think that was kind of like the bigger trigger for, you know, Rolo leaving, and I don't blame him. Not having that support system of the state to come and watch Hawaii football. Like, if you look at Wazoo is complete. Their stadiums are packed to the rim every game, win or lose. And I'm praying and hoping that everybody takes a step back and wants to go back and watch Hawaii football games and support the boys, because man, these boys live for this. I mean, I live for it. Injured, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. When you walk out of that tunnel and you see all those people, that's what you live for. And it's just kind of one of those things where it just comes with time. But I mean, having Todd Graham come in, a really high caliber coach, even Bill Belichick said he's probably one of the best college football coaches. That's huge, man. That's like a huge praise from a Super Bowl contending coach. Every year that man, even without Tom Brady, probably he's got something up his sleeve. But we'll get to that anyway. But yeah, man, I think it's a great hire, and I wish the best for him. And I'm gonna still be in touch with him and see how I still can help the program out while I'm home.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Coach Graham, I just got a message from him on Instagram. Coach Graham, hey, if you want to come on here, man, feel free. We would love to have you come on.
Hey, Coach Graham, what's going on, man? Yeah.
All right. My final question that I have for you regarding the current state of Hawaii football is the people outside of Hawaii don't know about this kid, but Chevan Cordero, man, I watched this kid play last year, and he played limited snaps because you guys had Cole McDonald, who was lighting it out there. And good luck, Cole McDonald, in the NFL. But this kid, he can hurt you with his arm. He's got a great arm. He can hurt you with his legs. Tell me and tell the audience out there, how good is Chevan Cordero?
Man, I've seen this kid play in high school. He was phenomenal. Really humble kid, raised by a good family. Don't know him too personally, but I've met his dad a couple times at a couple pylon tournaments, this and that. I know his little brother plays receiver. The kid is phenomenal, period. It's just one of those things where, once the kid gets in a rhythm, it's hard to stop him. And I know they were kind of battling it out, who was going to be the quarterback and this and that and the whole nine. It happens in college football. But, having the guidance by G.J. Kenny, man, I mean, G.J. Kenny, dude, when he was at Tulsa with Graham, that guy was phenomenal. Then I know he played a couple years in the NFL. And, just having the guidance of him working with Chevan is kind of going to be I feel a great mesh between the two, because if you watch Chevan's tape and you go back and watch G.J. Kenny's tape, they're kind of similar. Even though, a lot of people say Chevan Cordero doesn't have the stature and, the height and this and that. I don't care. The kid can play. Let that man sling the ball. I mean, the way that, Coach Graham is recruiting, he's giving them all the tools and the weapons, man. He's giving them the speed. He's giving them the size. He's bringing back speed. He's bringing back size. The offensive line, they were young last year, and, hats off to the big boys, man. This year is going to be something to watch for, because once Chevan Cordero gets hot, it's on. Even when the kid is cold, it's on, because you never know what he's going to do. The kid, and he always holds the ball at the last minute, meaning that, like, he has a quick release. The boy can sling it. His timing is awesome, but he'll sit in the pocket is what I mean. He'll take the hit. Hits don't bother this kid, man. This kid is tough as nails. And I think that's something that a lot of college coaches respect about the kid, because, when he sits there and if he takes off and he goes running, man, he's even more dangerous. So I think in the next couple of years, I believe Chevan's probably going to be a junior this year, but he's probably going to start breaking some records sooner than everybody thinks. I wish the best for him and his whole family too. I mean, it's, he's making the state proud, and I know this whole COVID thing, but also, man, the kid's smart. The kid knows the kid's going to take the playbook, and he's going to dive in it, and he's going to dissect the crap out of it. So, you're getting a young-minded quarterback that has a mature statue about him already. So I think Chevan Cordero is going to blow up on the scene this year more now, because he's going to be taking like 99.999% of the snaps. So it should be really good right there.
Yeah. Let's. Oh, go ahead, Isaiah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can't wait to see Shevin ball out. I saw it last year. I think it was one of the games against. I forgot who it was against, but Hawaii was trailing, and then Shevin comes in for Cole McDonald, and first snap he takes, he fires a 90-yard bomb to JoJo Ward, and I think it was like to tie the game or something like that. But that was amazing to watch, and I can't wait to see this kid, get the whole offense to himself now, and he's going to do a lot of great things. Trust me, he's a great kid, and like Samson said, I think he's in next in line in a lot of Hawaii's had great quarterbacks come through their system. He's next in line in that system.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Chevon's gonna have a great career at Hawaii. Best of luck to the guy. And for the viewers out there, Isaiah actually has a pretty good track record of picking these under the radar quarterbacks before they become big. He really started hyping up Keaton Slovis before he popped off at USC and became, the freshman player of the year within the Pac-12. First game he starts in for the injured JT Daniels. This guy is screaming everywhere, Keaton Slovis, watch out for him. He's the real deal and everything. And then sooner rather than later, he becomes a huge deal, and he's heading into his sophomore season with high expectations. Jared Goff, before he was the number one pick out of the NFL, you saw Isaiah always out there, rain or shine, biggest fan for Jared Goff. So this guy has a knack for picking the under-the-radar, underrated quarterbacks.
Man,
Let's dive a little bit. Yeah.
Man, you better start becoming an NFL agent. Be getting paid for that.
Yeah, for real, Isaiah.
Hey, man. Hopefully the Niners hire me. Man, that would be a dream job right there.
Oh,
I don't think they want to do that because you'd make Nick Mullins the starting QB.
Oh, yeah, he's got a thing for Nick Mullins. He thinks he should be the starter over Jimmy G.
Man, you guys didn't see Nick Mullins play?
He's decent, but is he really a starting quarterback?
Yeah, he'll be a starter somewhere else, though. He'll probably get traded.
Yeah, probably not for Jimmy G. But, speaking of NFL, let's dive a little bit into the NFL with the NFL draft. Samson, I want to get your take on the biggest winners and losers of the draft this year.
Biggest losers, my opinion would have to have been, and I know my best friend's a Green Bay fan, but Green Bay, I got nothing against Green Bay. I know, yeah, a lot of my friends, Trevor Davis played there. He's my really good friend, but I mean, if they're taking a quarterback, that's fine. But Aaron Rodgers still has some youth. Some youth in him, and you could have got another receiver to add to some weapons. But hey, that's what it is. I would have to say the biggest winners, in my opinion, would have to be I've won Miami because they actually loaded up on the offseason with the trades, and plus two, man, they got Tua. When Tua's healthy, he's gonna do some damage. But they had a lot of picks this year in the rounds, and they kind of did load up. And I think the next one would have to be, as much as I don't want to say it, I really don't want to say it, but I think the Giants, dude. I say the Giants because they took their O-lineman and they got McKinney at safety. That's going to be something to watch. My other best friend, the godfather of my child, he's a Giants fan. He's probably going to laugh about this later, but I mean, we were going back and forth during when he was drafting and I was drafting. I'm a Dallas fan. I didn't even think we were going to take CD. I was thinking, man, we're going to get another D lineman or O lineman. So, I mean, those two teams, I must definitely say, and the Niners taking Kinlaw was huge. Oh man, I was waiting for Kinlaw to drop to us, and I was like, man, please let that kid drop down. And I saw the Niners go for him, and I was like, man. Now my conference just got harder. But the draft, we already know that, the conference with, Tampa Bay and all of them, that's going to be the toughest conference because the Saints did load up too. But my two winners, man, my two winners are the Dolphins and the Giants. I mean, they loaded up on positions that they needed. Their quarterback situation, I know he's young, but he did show a lot of good traits, and you still got Saquon Barkley back there. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of huge.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you there, Samson, and say the biggest loser, absolutely the Green Bay Packers, because you went into the draft knowing that yeah, you did get to the semifinal / conference championship, but you got absolutely destroyed by the Niners. They got lit up. Aaron Rodgers looked scared and helpless out there. The round before, they were like, man, Kirk Cousins can't play because they saw what the Niners did to him. And then they did the same thing to Aaron Rodgers. So they don't have much offensive line protection on that team. And then
Yeah.
wide receiver wise, outside of Devontae Adams, you don't have any tight ends or wide receivers that can really help Aaron Rodgers out there burn those Niners corners and safeties in a draft that was so loaded with running backs, wide receivers, offensive linemen. With your first round pick, you pick Jordan Love, a guy, I mean, I'm not trying to hate, but he had very suspect stats within the Mountain West. And I know you can't just look at numbers. Like you got to look
Yeah.
at the guy's, arm. You got to look at his talent. Kind of the moment you have with Tua there. Maybe coaches and other guys had that kind of moment with Love. They see him out there on the field physically throwing the ball. They fall in love with him. You got to get the guy you want. I understand that. And I understand they know more about the game than us, but the needs were the fact that you needed a wide receiver, you needed offensive line, and you draft a quarterback in the first round who now he has immense pressure to go and succeed out there in the NFL. I mean, I feel bad for this kid because he was in a, Utah situation at Utah State where he didn't have that much help in his senior year. And now he has so much pressure to live up to the name of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of pressure. I would say kind of a slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers, man, that dude's phenomenal. I'm more of like I love the game of football. I'm passionate about it. I love the players who play it, and I'm a diehard Dallas fan. But I appreciate like other teams' players. A-Rod, man, that guy's torched my team and ruined my chance to go to the playoffs here and there a lot of times. And it's like, if I was a starting quarterback, in the NFL, and I still had some youth left in me, about 5 or 6 years, and you draft a quarterback, it's kind of telling me like, all right, man, you start pushing out the door. So now I got to mentor this guy, which I probably have no problem with helping the kid. But why not go grab me a center? Why not go grab me a right tackle to help me out, and then you can pick him up down the line? I mean, I think the whole COVID thing kind of screwed a lot of guys over in the NFL draft too, because nobody had pro days. So you only look at the quarterbacks that were at the combine, and from there you're like, man, I could have got another sleeper quarterback from a Division II school, while you load me up on the offensive line. Another tight end, another inside slot or outside receiver, because it was giftedly given, man. I mean, I think the Vikings won too with Jefferson, dude. That was a huge pick for them. I was like,
absolutely,
man,
I love it,
dude. That kid's gonna take off, man. And then, the Raiders, oh man, they were loading up too, and I was like, dang, like they're trying to do something up there, man. So it's to me, it's kind of tough, but yeah, I would have to say that too, man. And just Miami, because Miami had all those picks, so they're loading up on something.
Yeah, and I would say my second loser would probably be the Philadelphia Eagles, because kind of the same reason for the Packers, right? You already have the starter in Wentz. Just like the Packers, they already have the starter in Rodgers, and Wentz is even younger than Rodgers. He's fully in his prime. So you're kind of drafting this guy, Jalen Hurts, and he's a proven winner at college, don't get me wrong, but you're drafting him with the expectation that either he's going to fulfill this Taysom Hill kind of role, which I don't know if that's going to happen right away, because Hill's a very special talent. That's very rare within NFL history, within the league. I don't know if the Eagles can employ that kind of dual quarterback system the Saints employed. And then if you're just drafting him for the contingency plan that Wentz gets injured, that's not a good look either.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, regardless, is a baller. I mean, he's probably looking to that Taysom Hill role. But comparing the two athletes, I mean, Hill's a different animal, man. That dude's built like a fullback, throws like a quarterback, runs like a receiver, and freaking can tackle you like a linebacker. Jalen Hurts is more of just your running quarterback. I mean, if you really look at it, it really looks like they just drafted Justin Fields. And when Justin Fields was at Georgia, you had Nick Fromm, who's at Carson Wentz, and then you had Justin Fields, who just runs the ball. So, I mean, to me, another team should have picked Jalen Hurts and let him just sling the ball, man, because the kid can play. But, hats off to him getting drafted because, a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to fall down and get here. But you never know, man. Philadelphia's got something cooking, man. I just don't know what to tell you about it. I can't put my finger on it. But I'm going to figure it out, though.
Yeah, after all, they did kind of outsmart Coach Belichick in that Super Bowl about a couple years ago. So maybe they got something cooking. And I love that Justin Fields analogy. You got the more mobile, athletic quarterback with the quarterback who's, more about smarts and intelligence, being a field general like Jake Fromm. And then you just don't have enough field to really put both of those guys out there and have them be productive. Fields ends up having to transfer. I think, Samson, unfortunately, as much as I, look up to the Eagles staff and everything, and I look up to Hurts as a guy, I think he's going to be forced out of there eventually. I don't think they have enough space to do Hurts and Wentz.
Yeah, man. Somebody's going to say, hey, man, we'll trade you for Jalen Hurts down the line. And then he's going to have the Justin Fields effect, man. He's going to go out there and be slinging and killing it.
And then the Eagles are going to be like, man, what did I do?
Yeah, what did I do? I should have started him over Wentz. And then Wentz is a good quarterback too, man. Wentz is great. But you don't have enough game time to share with them.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think that pick can be summarized as this. I'm under the assumption that most NFL teams see a first-round pick as a day one starter outside of maybe the quarterback. And then second and third rounders, you want them to be a starter in like 2 or 3 years. But with the Eagles, in their best case scenario, Jalen Hurts doesn't play in 2 to 3 years. In their best case scenario, he doesn't see the field as a number one quarterback. So to spend that high a pick on a contingency plan, I agree with you guys. It was a reach. They should have waited to like the 4th round, gotten someone like Jake Fromm or Easton if they really wanted a contingency plan. 2nd round wasn't the time to do that.
Yeah. So it would have to be they might be trying some kind of dual threat system. We're going to see. I'm going to go over my 2 quick winners really quickly. You mentioned one of them already, Samson. I think the Vikings did really good with drafting Justin Jefferson out of LSU. Absolute beast. Not fully polished, but he's an amazing athlete. Just eye-popping athleticism and vertical jump ability, speed, everything. He's got it. Maybe just improve that route running, but I think late 1st round, definitely where he belongs to be drafted, if not earlier. Nate Stanley out of Iowa, someone I really liked, actually. He was probably the steal of the draft for me because he's the guy who can make all the throws, and I think he could evolve into like a Kirk Cousins or Alex Smith because he's got that like pocket presence and that kind of what you described with the Kai coming into Hawaii this year. He's not afraid to take big hits, and he showed it in his games against USC, against Wisconsin. All these games, he's been making big throws again and again. He was just in a system in Iowa where they didn't really want him to be slinging the ball a lot. They were more of a defensive and run and grind kind of team.
Yeah, and they're more of a game management team too this year.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a pretty good steal in my opinion. He will be groomed good and right, ready to go. But like you said, you're drafting him to be kind of like the sponge to the starter.
Yeah,
like it's always that scenario. Like when you're a senior in high school and you got a freshman kid and they pull him up to varsity, it's like, all right, teach him. So it's gonna take a couple of years, maybe I would say 1 or 2, but regardless, man, the kid's a gamer. So I mean, I know he's always ready. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
All right, 7th round pick. I think it's a pretty good value for kind of the next man up. Best case scenario, worst case scenario, maybe you trade or let the guy go, but I think he really is going to be there to stick around in the NFL. Now I want to go into Ryan's biggest winners and losers in the NFL draft.
All right, similar to you guys, I have the Green Bay Packers as the biggest loser in the draft. I did some calculations. I actually put together a spreadsheet. It took me like 2 hours, but I had nothing else to do in quarantine. And according to that, the New England Patriots were the biggest losers, but it's Bill Belichick. They've won 6 Super Bowls, so I'm going to disregard that and then go right to the Green Bay Packers. The thing is, yes, the Jordan Love pick was suspect and a little questionable, but even outside of that, they had some really bad picks. I went pick by value, and the AJ Dillon pick and the Joshua pick, the tight ends in the second and third rounds, were two of the four worst value picks in the draft. So they reached for those two guys, and it didn't adjust some of their biggest needs, which was another wide receiver outside of Devontae Adams, and then some help in the run or some help for the defense. I mean, when they faced good rushing attacks last year, their defense gave up a lot of yards. Just look at what happened to them in the conference championship game. The 49ers ran all over them, and they didn't address those two biggest needs, and they reached for different needs to build a completely different team than the one they had last year. That was one game away. You don't completely change your identity when you were that close. You were 13-3. Why are you trying to? It's almost feeling like they're rebuilding in a way, and I just don't get that. So they're my biggest losers by far. But then my second biggest loser is honestly the Seattle Seahawks. In recent years, their first round draft picks have been a little suspect. There was a couple years ago when they drafted a running back in the first round right after Christian Carson had a breakout year, and Chris Carson is still their number one running back. And then this year, they take Jordan Brooks, the linebacker out of Texas Tech, and the kid seems very, very, very talented. Don't get me wrong, but with Queen still on the boards, I just don't like that pick at all. I actually have that as my second worst value pick because he seemed more like a mid-second rounder, and you reached to get him when you had a much better linebacker, in my opinion, still on the board. So that pick confused me. And they had some good late value picks in the later rounds, but it wasn't enough to overcome some of the more head scratching moves they made in the first couple rounds. So I have to give them one of the two biggest losers in the draft. And then my two winners, the second biggest winner to me, I want to say Cleveland Browns, but I'm a fan of them, so I'll give it to someone else. Let's give it to
Brian, they
Carolina.
didn't draft Ezra Cleveland. They got to be a loser for not drafting the guy whose name is literally Cleveland.
Yeah, for real. His name was
I mean,
his name was Cleveland.
But I was hearing reports they were going to take him at 10, and that would have been way too high. And in the second round, we had to go safety, so we didn't really have the spot to get him. But that is a loss for the namesake, but I don't view it as that. I love the guy we got out of Alabama, so I'm happy. But let's give some props to the Carolina Panthers. What was their biggest weakness last year? Defense. And what do? They go out and draft all defensive players. I absolutely love that. Like, I think that's the first time in the common draft era that any team has done that. And I'm a guy that loves good defense, and my goodness, that you just have to love that, honestly.
And they took an XFL guy.
Oh yeah, the 5th round pick out of West Virginia.
Yeah, and
that was a good pick.
They have Teddy Bridgewater, and then they have PJ Walker from June Jones's team, the quarterback.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up their draft real quick, and honestly, they hit on almost every pick. Almost every single one of their picks was a good value pick. Derek Brown out of Auburn, while I think Isaiah Simmons was better, he's still a beast and is in a more important position, so I can see that pick. They drafted Gross Montos out of Penn State in the second round, which was an amazing pick. They drafted the safety out of Southern Illinois in the 3rd round. Some people had him going in the late 1st or early 2nd, so that was another great value pick. They just had great value picks across the board, and the fact they went all defense, they weren't messing around. They just said, we need to fix the defense, and they did that. No wasted picks. You gotta love a draft like that. And the biggest winner of the draft, I have to say this. I don't like saying this because my girlfriend's a Cowboys fan, and I've heard you are a diehard Cowboys fan as well.
Let's go. Record this.
I hate saying this, but it's the Dallas Cowboys. They were by far the biggest winner in the draft.
How about them Cowboys?
Them boys.
Them boys. Let's go.
But yeah, I did a calculation of value picks, and they were 2 times higher than the second best draft. They just knocked it out of the park. I think CD Lamb wasn't the best pick simply due to needs on the defense, but he was an amazing value at the 17th spot. Then they go and get Diggs out of Alabama with the 51 spot, and he was argued to be a first round talent. So to wait and get a guy that fills a position of great needs in the second round,
Touche.
that's an incredible pick right there. They got the D tackle out of Oklahoma, which I have as like the top 5 best value picks in the whole draft. They got the center out of Wisconsin, Tyler, in the 5th round, and he could be a replacement for Frederick, who just retired. So another top 5 or 10 value pick in my calculations. And then the defensive end, that is, out of Utah in the
Bradley
6th round. Yeah, Bradley Ane. In the 6th round, he was the best player available, according to Mel, since like round 4. So that was a great pick there. I hate saying this because my girlfriend has just been bragging nonstop and for good reason.
Say it.
The Cowboys won the draft. I don't like saying it because some Cowboys fans, I'm not saying all, but some Cowboys fans have a reputation. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, but them boys won the draft.
It's not me, bro. We're good.
Ryan, you said it. The Cowboys won the draft. How about them Cowboys? We got a fan question really quickly. How do you guys feel about the Chiefs taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU with that 32nd pick in the 1st round after Damian Williams had basically a Super Bowl MVP type performance for the Chiefs?
I like it. I personally like it. I think they're trying to take – he's a very explosive player, and I think they're just trying to take more off of the return game from a man Hill. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to save him more for offense more and trying to take him. But he's a most dynamic player. I think they got themselves a gem in that pick, I believe, too. So I think it was a good pick.
I mean, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great player, but I just have to say, I just don't see running back as a need they needed to address in the 1st round. I think the group of running backs they have is really good already. And while he'll obviously be the best one now and will be the starter, I believe, I just think they should have addressed their defense. I really thought they should have gone a cornerback in the 1st round because they lost Fuller in the offseason. So replacing him was paramount. I don't know. Love the player, just don't love the position that they drafted in the 1st round. I think they should have gone more needs-based.
Okay, let's go to Isaiah's winners and losers. Unless you got one more thing to comment about the Chiefs.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the Edwards-Helaire pick, and that is, I think they made the right move in drafting a running back because, you got to shoulder the load between that new guy and Damian Williams so Damian Williams doesn't get hurt. But I wouldn't have picked Edwards-Helaire. I would have taken J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Out of the Ohio State University.
Yeah. You hit it on there, man.
You got Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, J.K. Dobbins. That makes an electrifying offense even more electric.
But I think when they made the pick, they were primarily going after a running back who could be mostly a pass-catching back. And Edwards-Helaire, I think, at this stage of his career is better than Dobbins. Dobbins had a couple of key drops throughout the season, including against Clemson. And the guy can definitely catch the ball. Don't get me wrong. The guy can catch the ball, but I think Edwards-Helaire is still the better pass-catching running back at this stage.
There he is. Yeah, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
All right, let's go into some or Isaiah, you got your winners and losers of the draft?
Yeah, so I got to agree with y'all. The Packers, they're definitely my biggest loser. They drafted Jordan Love. I felt like they should have, with that 1st round pick, they should have used it to get some help for Aaron Rodgers or improve that defense. Because, quarterback wasn't their biggest issue in that NFC Championship game. The reason why they lost that NFC Championship game was they just had no answers whatsoever for Mostert. So I thought they should have either given Rodgers another weapon or drafted defense. But my biggest winners are, I would say, it's the Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals and the 49ers. Let me explain. So the Denver Broncos, led by Vic Fangio, my guy, and John Elway, they really needed to improve their offense coming into this offseason. Their offense was atrocious last year, and they did just that by signing Melvin Gordon and Graham Glasgow to give Drew Lock a running back and an offensive lineman to protect him. In the draft, they got Jerry Jeudy, arguably the best wide receiver in the draft at number 15. That's really remarkable, considering the fact that most mock drafts had Judy being gone for the number 12 pick. And then after that, they follow that up by getting KJ Hamler from Penn State, who is a speedster and a fantastic wide receiver. And then after that, they go and get the center from LSU, Cushenberry, who I think will be a starter from day one. And then they go get the tight end from Missouri, who Drew Lock is very familiar with. I think, Drew Lock has got to be an extremely happy camper right now because he's got a lot of weapons to play with. And who knows, man? You guys are all talking about Kansas City, how they're going to run away with the AFC West and stuff. Look out for Denver. They're loading up.
They will.
Yeah, and then my second winner is the Cardinals. The Cardinals coming into this draft, they needed to address two things: the offensive line and their defense. They needed to better protect Kyler Murray, and their defense was absolutely atrocious last year. And what do they do in this draft? They get Isaiah Simmons, who is the best linebacker in this draft, who can stop the run and is great at covering receivers when needed. That addresses the defense. And then
I'm surprised that he fell to number 8, Isaiah.
I am too, but I get why the Panthers didn't draft him and they drafted Derek Brown because, Matt Rule is trying to emulate what the 49ers did, and that is build up that defensive line because, as people learned last year, defensive line wins you games.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll tell you this, though. The Denver Broncos can have all the good drafts they want, but the Chiefs are basically the Patriots of their division. They are set to dominate the West. And I've said this again and again. I've said this on like every podcast, Samson, but I think the AFC West is the new AFC East. It's going to be dominated by the Hall of Fame quarterback who has the amazing coaching and offensive weaponry. Plain and simple.
True facts. I agree. 100%.
Yeah. Let's jump into some Cowboys football because I know you.
Steven,
yeah.
Before we continue, I just have one last thing to say about the Cardinals. They got the steal of the draft when they picked Josh Jones, the offensive lineman out of Houston, who was a projected first-round pick. They landed him in the 3rd round to protect Kyler Murray. Amazing pick by Cliff Kingsbury and company.
Shout out to Suhail who called that one. He said Josh Jones absolutely should have gone on day 1. They were freaking out on Reddit when he got drafted. One of the comments said that, you know what it was? He didn't have a back-breaking backstory like all the other draft contestants. And that's why he couldn't get picked in the 1st round. And then I saw one of the comments, is this America's Got Talent with the soap opera stories? In order to win, you got to have a devastating story,
Yeah, that's cold. No.
Yeah, that's cold. Cold for sure. Let's jump into some Cowboys football, guys. So at number 19, they get CeeDee Lamb. Samson, what do you think about, getting a wide receiver in the 1st round when you already have all that weaponry on the Cowboys?
In my opinion, I think, we let go Cobb. Well, Cobb left to the Texans. I get it. You wanted more money. It's all good. It's fine. But I was looking more towards just filling that offensive line when Fredericks left, when he retired. So I was hoping we'd go center, but when I heard we got CeeDee Lamb, I was surprised he dropped that low. I was like, we dropped it. But that's just another weapon because I think what they're trying to do right now is make a pleading case of, all right, Dak Prescott, we got you what you need. Now, are you worth the money? Don't get me wrong. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, and I love football, but I'm realistic. if it, you had the chance to beat the Rams to go to the Super Bowl. That was on Dak Prescott and the offense, and they did what they did, and just never made it. As a Cowboys, as a type of fan that I am, I look at football in a nutshell where when guys want to ask for more money, now you really have to prove your worth. And I'm kind of happy that Jerry Jones kind of let, McCarthy have a little bit more say in this draft. Because now he's surrounding his offense with the weapons that he has. So if Dak Prescott doesn't take that deal and wants to be traded or wants to be a free agent, the next quarterback coming in is going to have the weapons to build. And if it's a younger quarterback, by all means. So, I like the pick. I'm a huge CeeDee Lamb fan. I'm already going to order that jersey. I'm waiting for it to come out, even though he's rocking the 88. It's my man, Des Bryant. But dropping down to get Bradley Ane, not one because he's a local boy and I support all the local boys, but now he's a Cowboy. But he's a sleeper, man. I'm telling you. He's one of the most athletic guys out there. And, to get him that low and to get the center out of Wisconsin that low with his high of a value, but to get him with that pick, oh, man, that was great. That was the hugest thing. I was like, man, please draft a center. Someone young that's going to mold these guys. So the CeeDee Lamb pick was good. I'll take it. But this the draft class, I was happy with it because every year I'm always dreading it. Like, all right, Jerry Jones, don't screw this up. Please don't screw this up. I'm over here like, please, here's what we need. I actually called it that Dak Prescott got drafted by the Cowboys a couple years ago to my best friend. I was telling him, man, I'm getting Dak Prescott. He was like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay. And then when he got picked, he called me like, bro, you guys got Dak Prescott. Like I told you. So it's kind of one of the things where I'm like, it's not even just a niche about it. I just had a feeling because they did the Senior Bowl together that they like what he can do. And Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But now he has to prove himself. It's one of those, like, so even if he does hold out, there's other quarterbacks out there that need a home. So they might trade up for somebody. They might go trade somebody for somebody. It just kind of falls into place of what, his identity is going to be this year. Is he going to step up and get more involved? And, CeeDee Lamb's a really good blocker too. So that kind of helps Ezekiel Elliott out a lot when he runs the ball and Pollard as well. So, I liked it. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, just win, baby. Just win, Dak.
So
what do you think about, Dak Prescott? He's up for this $40 million per year contract extension. Do you think that the Cowboys and Jerry Jones should give him this contract?
My honest opinion is you gotta show me more than you can tell me. Yeah, Dak Prescott, when he came on the scene, he had a great year. He took his MVP. He's been producing wins. It's all about winning in Dallas. But now that you have all this weaponry, prove to me that you're $40 million.
Yeah,
take me farther in the playoffs. Let's just not be a one first round playoff team and then bust it again in the second round, or not even make the playoffs. And now you have a style of offense that fits your caliber. Big statue quarterback that can throw it long, or a big statue quarterback that can get the ball out quick and you can run. Now you have to prove to me that you're $40 million. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And he's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong. Not because, I watched him at Mississippi State. Dude was phenomenal. And other than that, but yeah, that's pretty much my opinion about that.
Yeah, it's tough out there because the market now dictates that starting quarterbacks that are within the top 10 to top 15 range, they ought to be paid about $35 to $40 million now. That's what Jared Goff is getting around. Kirk Cousins got about $28 million a year in his first contract with the Vikings. Now he's up in the 30 millions. So it is a contract that, according to the market, Dak would deserve. He would be up for. But it's just a tough situation. I got one more question concerning the draft. This is kind of like a wild card question, but every year they do this thing called the Wenderlich, which is basically they look at like your ability as like a human to recognize like patterns, do quick math and everything. It's a score out of 50 points, and anything over 30 is considered pretty good. Anything over 40 is phenomenal. Obviously, like intelligence matters within football players, within any player of any sport, and especially within quarterbacks, usually your field general. But like, as an NFL fan and as a football player, like how much stock do you put into like the Wonderlic?
Nah, I would say probably 60%, because you kind of have to know what you're kind of getting into. You can be a phenomenal college player. I mean, a lot of people said Michael Vick didn't even look at his playbook, but he was so athletic that they drafted him.
Same with Jamarcus Russell. They had that story. I don't know if you heard it. They sent him to tape to go watch, and then they asked him when he came back over the weekend and said, "So how was the tape? Did you find the schemes confusing?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Like, I didn't understand this part of the scheme." So the joke was that there was nothing in the tape. So if he had actually followed them and tried to go listen to the tape, there was no footage. So that's when they knew that he was totally like bullshitting them and wasn't even watching the tape.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like I said, there's phenomenal athletes that don't even know what cover 2 and cover 1 is. They're just going to the league based off athletic ability, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you're gonna have to force yourself to learn this kind of stuff. But when you go into an NFL room, man, it's completely different. You got every name known to man for a play call, like King's Right, Blood, 22, White Jet, Exmo, Z Snag, and it's like you're like, oh, okay, what is this? And then when you get to that level, you got to know it, because a lot of my friends who are playing the league will tell me, man, it's football IQ. If you don't got that football IQ, you're not worth nothing, because you're going to be playing slow, and that's going to hinder your athletic ability. So, yeah. I mean, there's dudes that study the playbook, and there's dudes that write down the plays in their arm and look at it and be like, okay, I got this. It's like, oh, okay. So I would say that's pretty huge. I mean, even just knowing your basic skills of patterns and math and everything, just to see where your brain's at under pressure, because after pro day, we had to do one. And I never got my score back, but after our NFL pro day for Hawaii, man, they gave it to us, and we were under so much pressure, because you had all these NFL teams, standing in there just looking at you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, I got to get 50% right, or 50 questions right. Oh, okay. So you're just trying to rush through it, and you don't even know if it's right or wrong, because you're such in a panic. So it's kind of more what you're going to do under pressure. So I would say at least 60% of the stock needs to go on that.
Yeah, you hear that, guys. There's a pattern here. Going into college, you got to get your GPA and your test scores up. You can be a phenomenal athlete, but you got to meet that baseline requirement. Going in the NFL, you got to have that intelligence, study the playbook, have the work ethic. But even something like the Wonderlic, as Samson says, very, very important, because it's a baseline assessment of your intelligence and your ability to just recognize patterns and numbers. All right, so do you guys have anyone else out there have any takes on CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I got to take on Dak Prescott. I agree with Samson. It's really tough if I'm Jerry Jones and I'm deciding whether or not to give Dak Prescott that $40 million per year extension that he wants, because he hasn't really proven it yet. That's the thing. Like, if he worth $40 million a year, you got to at least get me to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, So, yeah, I think that he's got to prove it. I would have him play under the franchise tag right now.
Yes.
Just to prove it this year. But, hey, Samson, I got a wild idea I want to throw at you, because I know you're a huge Cowboys fan. So,
shoot.
Yeah, me and my guy Steven, we've been going back and forth on this. I actually brought up to him that when we were just debating this earlier, I think the Dallas Cowboys, they should, Dak Prescott, he's a phenomenal quarterback, but I think they should cut bait from him, not give him that money, and then trade for Nick Mullins.
Oh, my
Nick Mullins under center, and then you can allocate those the money that you're going to pay Dak to, like, weapons. What do you think about that?
No, dude. You lost me when you said Nick, and I was like, Nick, yeah, it's going to be Nick Mullins. In my opinion,
would say Nick Mullins should start over Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick Mullins, and Isaiah was over here saying Nick Mullins is a Hall of Fame quarterback. My prediction would be, I mean, Nick Mullins is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going against that. Duke can play. My prediction is that if Dak does hold out, you're going to have a number one back there, and his name's going to be Cam Newton, and that would be something to watch. That whole dynamic would flip.
Yeah, that would be amazing, especially with Ezekiel Elliott, because in Baltimore you got Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, kind of the two rushers of the team, and then Dobbins backing them up. And then in Dallas, if Cam Newton were to come aboard, like you said, you'd have Cam Newton and Ezekiel Elliott. That'd be an amazing tandem.
Yeah, man. With CD running the jet, you got
Oof.
deep threats. I'm telling you, man. If Dak want to hold out, go ahead because Cam he's healthy.
Yeah, he's available, guys. Any GMs or fans listening out there, get Cam Newton.
I'm telling you, man.
Ryan, I want to get your final take. Samson got to wrap up real quickly here. Your final take on CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott possibly getting his $40 million per year extension.
I mean, during our draft show, I didn't think the CeeDee Lamb draft choice was the best one for the Cowboys, but it's a value pick, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. I mean, I don't like Amari Cooper very much. I just don't think he comes to play every game. He's very inconsistent. So
True.
I didn't like the Cowboys paying him $20 million. But if you're not going to have your number one wide receiver for like 8 out of the 16 games, I can see the value in getting another guy that can go off for like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on any given game. So the more I think about it, the more value I see in it. So overall, it's a good pick in my opinion. When it comes to Dak, I don't think he's worth 35 to 40 million, but as Steven always says, that's just the marketplace for quarterbacks. They always get overpaid. It's all about who's next to get paid. It's
and
not
overdrafted too.
Yes, and overdrafted. So it's not in today's quarterback market. I see it as it's not really how good you are. If you're a above average quarterback and your contract is due, you're going to get paid top of the quarterback market. That just seems to be how it is. But I want to end my segment with a question for Samson. How good do you believe the Cowboys have to do for Dak to have proved it? Because I feel like with him, it's not about the stats. It's about getting wins because he put up good stats last year. It's just that the Cowboys didn't win against good teams. So how good do the Cowboys have to do for Dak to have proved it and for him to go to Jerry Jones and say, hey, pay me what I'm asking now. No more negotiations. I proved it.
Me want to dominate the division. That's going to be huge. You're going to have to prove you can dominate, even though we have like the worst division possible known to man. 2, the biggest thing that how much the Dallas Cowboys would have to prove is actually utilizing the weapons that they draft. They draft a lot of good guys that you don't hear about afterwards in like the next year or 2. They start bringing in these free agent guys, which, hats off to them and doing something. But put them to use. You paid them all this money. Don't use it for trade or picks because, it's one of those things where now you have Jason Garrett, yeah, he was a decent coach. He wasn't the greatest, but he was good enough to win. But now you have a high caliber coach that took the Green Bay Packers to a Super Bowl with that amount of talent. And now he has more talent. So overall, it's going to start from the top. Jerry Jones, in my opinion, needs to kind of step back and let the coaches coach and don't be in his ear and let him do what he does. But our win average has to be crazy this year. I mean, we have to be like in the playoffs by a long like a landslide where like even if we lose like the last 2 or 3 games before the playoffs, it doesn't really matter no more. We're literally just we're one of those like we're in already. So now we can start resting our guys up and getting them ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, how far into the playoffs do they need to make it?
Man, dude, they're going to have to I'm be honest with you, they're going to have to go at least second round.
All right, so you heard it from Samson. They got to dominate the division, have a good win percentage, utilize those offensive weapons, especially with Mike McCarthy coaching. You got to step aside a bit, Jerry Jones. But, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you so much, Samson Anguay, for coming on the show. Do you have any parting thoughts for us?
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on here. Again, my camera went out. This is horrible. I'm trying to get back.
Yeah. It's all right.
No, dude. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys, man. I love the passion you guys have for football, man. And, if you guys keep this up, man, I promise you, dude, I wasn't joking, Isaiah, man. You better start, going to school to be in management, man, and start getting an NFL gig because, I love what you guys do. I always keep up with you guys. I appreciate anybody that's listening and watching. I appreciate you guys watching us today. I can't wait to be back on. Hopefully we can get back on right before NFL season starts so we can kind of see how everything goes. But, hey,
Right.
Ryan, I appreciate you saying that the Cowboys have the greatest draft class this year. I will take that to the grave with me. I promise you. I will hold that to. But, hey, Steven, man, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
All right, for sure,
Hey,
Samson.
thanks for coming
you
on,
so much
Samson.
for coming on.
Go Bows.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you, Samson,
aloha
for
to
coming
all
on.
you
Great
guys
honor.
tuning out there.
I'll see y'all.
All right, man.
Shoot.
Yeah. Ryan, were you about to say?
Oh, just saying, it was a great honor to have you on, Samson, if you're still here.
Yeah, man, I'm still here, bro.
All right,
All
we'll
right,
leave you
thank
guys
you.
out with some Hawaii Five-0. Thank you for tuning in. Aloha to you guys all out there. And, stay safe.
Stay safe,
Yes, sir.
man.
Have a good night, y'all.
You too, man.